Well, good day, good day, good day. It's episode 3. We've made it. A lot of podcasters don't make it to episode 2, and most don't make it to episode 1. They don't even try. They just dream for 23 years, for 32 years, maybe 33 years, but that's not me. Today, that's not me. I only dreamt of it for 32 and I think like 7/8 of a year. So here we are with this emergency broadcast. It's an emergency and it's a broadcast. It's my emergency broadcast. And you might say, oh, the tariffs, it is an emergency. And no, my emergency is partially because of tariffs, but my views are down this week. And you might say, you made an episode over that? I'm not even going to watch this because I didn't watch your other one. Well, someday you might. You might circle back to it. And I have a message for all my friends. For all my friends who are watching this. If you are a friend of a podcaster, a blogger, a vlogger, anybody creating anything on the web, it's your responsibility to make me happy. It's your responsibility to make me happy. What do I mean by that? I need you to like my content. I need you to comment on my content. I need you to subscribe, to share. And you have to like my content because you're my friend. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to like it. Sort of like when you have a school delay. You might not like it, but you're delayed. No matter what, you're not going in early. And nobody's there if you do. So that's my emergency today. No clicks, and I realized I wasn't talking about anything anybody cared about. Only I cared about it. So I'm going to talk about the tariffs today. I need clicks, so I'm going to talk about the tariffs. And you might say, what is he going to say about the tariffs? I don't think he really knows about the tariffs. And I know enough to know that I'm not going to talk about them publicly. I don't want to embarrass you, and I don't want to embarrass myself. Anyways, the tariffs. Some of you are over-exaggerating right now about the tariffs. What do I mean by that? You have the terror in the word tariffs, okay? You're terrified of these tariffs, and it's not even affecting you. I about said infecting. Well, it's going to infect our country like the plague. If you guys just keep wanting to buy cheap stuff off Amazon, we're all going to have a problem. You know what my problem with the tariffs are? Everybody's got a problem with the tariffs, but nobody's talking about how you're actually mad that you're not getting slave-labored goods anymore. You're mad because you can't get some little 12-year-old to do something for you for nothing. That's the real issue I think we need to talk about with the tariffs. Nobody wants to talk about that part. They just want to talk about raising prices, okay? You need to stop worrying about your 401k for a minute. I don't care if retirement's on the verge for you. We need to talk about the real problem, and that's child slavery. It's not okay. And so many times our products are a product of child slavery. So let's think about what we buy before we buy it and the greater impact, okay? That's what I wanted to talk about today. This is going to be a shorter episode than the rest. And that's why. Because the tariffs have you worried. My views have me worried, okay? I think this is a little bit more tangible than your tariffs. And together, though, I think we can solve each other's problems. And you're probably wondering how. Well, I share this story a lot, but I'm going to share it with you today. I recently shared it on Instagram. I'm going to share it with you today. But there's a saying, and by there's a saying, there was an abusive person in my life that once said, Ryan, you might know a thing or two about fellowship, but you have something to learn about friendship. And he said that to me. I was playing tennis with him, and he said that to me one day because I canceled on him a couple times, but let's not point fingers. But it was cold out. It was cold out. I didn't want to go play tennis in a 30-degree morning. Am I wrong for that? It felt abusive. It felt like it was an emotional exaggeration. An emotional exaggeration. And I didn't like that. And so I blocked him. I blocked his number, and I don't know if he tried to play tennis with me since. Sometimes I look over in traffic, and I wonder if that's him, and it never was. But it might be one day, and that could be awkward when I pull up to a stoplight. And he's there, and he might remember how I don't even do a good job at fellowship with him anymore, let alone friendship. And do you have an obligation to, I looked at him not as a mentor, but as a tennis coach. They're totally different. He was more of a tennis coach than a mentor. And I want to ask you this. Did I have a responsibility to be his friend? Think about the time you were in 5th grade and you had an art teacher. Your art teacher, were they mad that you didn't hang out with them after school? Probably not. My art teacher never got mad at me because I didn't hang out with them after school. I had a tennis friend, a tennis coach. I'll call him a tennis coach because I wasn't a friend, at least a good one. And who's to say I was being a bad friend? Maybe his standards were a little high of friendship. Maybe that's why I'm the only one he wanted to hang out with. Anyways, I digress with that, but I think we should really ask that question. Should we be friends with our teachers, with our coaches, with the person that rings out your groceries, with the person at the meat market handing out free popcorn? I don't know. I don't know what's expected. But what I know we need to do is we need to love people well. And I think that'll teach a bigger lesson than me ever inviting you over to my house to hang out. I'm kind of kidding. I think you can tell. But this is not a laughing matter because I think maybe I hurt his feelings. But maybe he hurt mine. Did he ever call to ask how I was doing? I don't know. I blocked him, remember? If you were paying attention to the story, you would remember that. But that really happened. That really happened between me and that man. And after we stopped playing tennis together, I got worse. In fact, I got so bad, they just started changing all the tennis courts to pickleball courts. Now you can hardly even find a tennis court anywhere around this forgotten city, if you will. Forgotten for tennis, at least. Nobody's playing it anymore. Pickleball's taking over America. I think it's actually an inside job. Tomorrow there's a conspiracy party. And the conspiracy I might talk about is how actually these orthopedic companies are funding the development of pickleball because there might be more injuries due to pickleball than tennis. Am I right or am I wrong? You'll find out when Alex Jones talks about it. You don't really care about what I have to say about it, but when Alex Jones brings it up, you'll have an opinion. Remember what he said about the frogs? You thought he was silly, but we found out he was right. There are some things he was wrong about, but let's not focus on... It's really not about what's wrong. It's about what's right at the end of the day. That's an important life lesson. That's an important life lesson. It's not about if you forgot sugar in your cookie recipe. It's about where the cookie's made. Do you have cookies on your plate? That's really what it's about. And I think you really need to ask yourself, how would you respond? Because really at the end of the day, it's all about how we respond. Me, I responded by blocking him. I blocked him on my phone because I thought it was emotionally abusive. It's not okay to let that voice into your life or mine. And I'm asking you tonight, how would you respond if you had cookies that tasted terrible in front of you? I can tell you how I responded when there was a terrible tasting pie put in front of me. It was Thanksgiving of maybe '05. I don't remember, but all the family was over. My grandmother, she didn't put sugar in that pie. I did not respond well. I responded like a second grader. Why? Because I was probably in second grade at that time, and it was terrible. And that's the nice thing about the innocence of a child. A child has a very unique perspective in life because they can just say things very honestly with no shame or guilt. My grandma, she was a wonderful woman, bless her heart, one of my favorites. But how will I remember her? I will remember her as a woman that owned her mistakes but responded well. Her mistake? No sugar in the pie. She practically ruined Thanksgiving that year. But she didn't let it ruin Thanksgiving totally for her. We still had fun. We still had dry turkey with good gravy that didn't let it stay dry. And we had a very transformative Thanksgiving that year, a memorable one. How do I know? I'm still telling the story 23 years later or whatever it was. I didn't do the math. But I think these are some things we need to think about and some things we need to reflect on today. One, If you need friends, don't do it by emotional abuse. Okay? Just play the role as a coach sometimes in somebody's life. You don't always have to be a friend. Be a coach. Sometimes that's all people need is a coach. They want to get better at tennis. They want to get better at baking, remembering. Okay? Don't be like the delivery person from the very large company that's let me down this week because I don't have my shoes that I don't need for 2 months yet to try on. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that delivers the package late or delayed by a day or hours. Okay? You're creating memorable experiences, whether good or bad. You always need to keep that at the front of your mind. The tariffs. Okay? Don't let the tariffs put terror in you. It's all going to be all right. Okay? We're already paying outrageous prices for everything. It's why I have to start a podcast. I'm a fiance right now. Some of you don't know that. I'm a fiance. And well, money doesn't grow on trees. It grows on the internet. It does. That's why I started a podcast. And, well, you can't support yourself. Sometimes crutches can't even support you. So you got to go get a second job. That's why I started a podcast. Because I don't want to go get a second job. I want to sit at home. I'm a remote worker. I'm a fiance. So I do things remotely with hope. With hope and ambition and a touch of prayer. By a touch, I mean a lot, because Lord knows I need it. I need help. I need help to make this podcast work. And if you don't like and subscribe, I won't be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know then whose fault it is that I'm not reaching my destiny. Okay? Is it your fault? I don't know. I can't answer that. His ways are not my ways. They're not. But what I do know is God's got a plan and it's good. I trust it. But faith without works is dead. And if I don't make this podcast, am I really trying for anything? If you don't subscribe, are you helping me? I don't know. I don't know what's in the cards that are dealt. I don't know. I'm not really what you would say a predestination or a full free will person. I think it's something in between. But we'll talk about theology next week maybe. We can talk about the end times and all those other things that go into it. But that's another conversation for another time. Well, it's been a pleasure. I hope you liked my new background. I hope you like the new lighting. It's natural. I try to be natural beauty as possible. I'm a fiance. I'm sharing that with you for the first time. And, well, see you next week for episode 4. Maybe it'll happen sooner. Maybe it'll happen later. But I'm going to try to come up with a thumbnail this time. I'm trying to keep this low maintenance. I think when you're trying things in life, you got to keep them low maintenance. Keep them low maintenance until it works. Okay, if you don't keep it low maintenance, you are setting yourself up for maybe a lot of disappointment. If you don't have perseverance, you'll just be disappointed. And then somebody needs to come along and they need to just be honest with you. Hey, you forgot the sugar. You're not even trying. Maybe my grandmother was just keeping it low maintenance that year. Maybe she thought baking was overrated. I don't know. She never wanted to be a vocational baker. And she proved it that year. She proved it by leaving the sugar out. So, anyways, kiss your loved ones goodnight. Let them know you love them and tell them Jesus loves them because he really does. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, like and subscribe. Go to the link below. Can't tell you what the link is because I haven't decided which one I'm going to plug in yet. Might be for my business. Might be for something else. I don't know. But just click it and see where it goes. But anyways, my 14 and a half minutes are up. You take care. Good night.